This video goes over the mini methods paper instructions. I've typed up some detailed instructions for your paper here, but I wanted to go over them via video with you as well. So the mini methods paper serves as a culmination of what you have learned this semester, so it's a really important paper. And these are details and instructions of what I'm looking for. This serves as 30% of your final grade, so it's in your best interest to start early and get help from the Writing Center within the Learning Commons if you need it. I provided you a rubric on Canvas so you can see how I'll be grading your work, and I'm also going to go through that rubric with you on this video. So the paper must be 3 to 4 pages. That's of course not including the title page, graph, or reference list. It needs to be in APA format, so if you need help with APA, Purdue University has a great website that you can look at here. It has APA in-text citation information and then APA reference text citation information. So if you need help, please use that. Another great resource is the Writing Center at the Learning Commons at UNT Dallas, and this is their webpage right here, and they also have help with citations. You can also schedule an appointment to get help from a writing tutor. Please utilize them if you need help with your writing. So you'll also be required to meet with me via Skype to talk all of this out before you put pen to paper. So please sign up for a meeting with me during week 15. I also added a couple days of availability before that in case you'd like to get an early start. And you can sign up for our one-to-one meeting at this Google Doc, which is right here. The X'd out times is when I'm not available, but I have opened up the Saturday and Sunday prior to that week start to be able to be available to you. I can start as early as 8 a.m. and then go to as late as 8 p.m. It's just for 30 minutes and the meeting is via Skype. My username is Beth Giddens, and you will be docked points if you do not meet with me. In addition, your paper will generally be stronger if you meet with me since we'll be able to talk it out beforehand. So please come to the meeting with ideas and prepare to discuss in order to make the most of your 30-minute time slot. The due date for this paper is Wednesday, December 11th by 11:59 via Canvas. Remember that late assignments automatically lose 50% of their points, so be sure to turn it in on time because, again, this is 30% of your grade, and the paper is a culmination of everything that we've gone over throughout the semester, so it's your opportunity to show me that you've learned a lot, and so be sure to pay attention to when it's due. Include the following sections in your paper. So there should be sections labeled in your paper: background information, problem statement, hypothesis, prediction, methods, graph, and references. So be sure to use those section titles in your paper. Now the rubric, which I'm going to go over here in a few minutes, explains in detail what I'm looking for in these particular sections as I'm going to be grading your work. But what I also did is I provided you a key of where to look in previous course materials for a reminder of what we've learned this semester. So for background information, check out Chapter 2 PowerPoint, also the annotated bib homework from week 2. Problem statement, Chapter 2 PowerPoint, setting the scope discussion board from week 2. Hypothesis, Chapter 2 PowerPoint, setting the scope discussion board from week 2. Also, the research and null hypothesis is covered in Chapter 13. Prediction, Chapter 2 PowerPoint, setting the scope discussion board from week 2. Methods, so this is a research methods class, so we went over methods the majority of this semester. Thus, this is in many locations depending on how you want to answer your research question and how you're going to test your hypothesis. So depending on the type of method you want to use for your study, find it in the following locations. So if you're going to use a qualitative method like a focus group, interview, observation, historical archival, or document analysis method, check out the week 5 materials. For quantitative methods, such as if you're going to use survey research, check out the week 6 materials in Chapter 7. Experimental designs, week 7, Chapter 8. Non-experimental designs, week 9, Chapter 11. These are all quantitative methods, and for all 3 of those quantitative methods, if you choose to do one of these, you also must choose the hypothesis testing technique, so you need to include that in your paper, and if you need a reminder about that, you can check out that homework video from week 10. Also, for these three, be sure to discuss the scale of measurement, which we learned about during week 6. For both qualitative and quantitative, you would also need to include these: IV, DV, and erroneous variables. That can be that was covered during week 3, chapter 4. Reliability and validity was during week 4, chapter 5. The sampling method, including in issues of generalization, was in week 11, chapter 14. And then having your procedures written out in your method, well written, in case someone wants to come behind you and redo your study, is super important. And we learned about that during week 11, chapter 14. The next section is a graph. So many of you made a graph to go with your week 7 homework. If you did not, it's okay. But in this paper, I do want you to include a visual of what your study looks like and include IV and DV with labels. So examples can be found in the week 7 PowerPoint. And then finally, include a reference section. So of course, you need to be using APA in-text citations, but also include a reference list that's in APA. I recommend you using the references that you've already found for your annotated bib homework and the analyzing journal articles homework. So you've already done some of that, so be sure to use some of that homework to be able to apply it to this paper. And then of course, again, this is the same website. If you need help with APA, visit that link or see the Writing Center. So this all of this, I just gave this to you as kind of a key of where to look, but of course, we've learned about all of this. So this is all in your syllabus. So if you need to go back to the course outline of your syllabus, this is where you can see that we cover different materials. So we went over reliability and validity during week 4, chapter 5. So this just gives you a cheat sheet. But go back to your syllabus if needed and say, hey, when did I cover that? And what did we talk about? And so you can remember, because again, this paper is a culmination of the work throughout the semester. Okay, so I told you that there's also a rubric, that in the rubric is going to be how I grade your paper. So this is what a rubric looks like. Hopefully you're familiar with rubrics, but if you're not, I'll go ahead and explain it now. So a lot of teachers utilize rubrics to be able to grade work in a systematic way and to ensure that they're being fair to all the students when they're grading work. It's also really great for transparency for the students to be able to see the rubric in advance. That way the students know what to include in papers, what to include in assignments, so that way they can be able to create the best assignment as possible for what the teacher wants. So there's some different columns here. Does not meet expectations, meets some expectations, and meet all expectations. So the way that you can get the most amount of points is by scoring here in this meets all expectations column. So these are the different things that I'm going to be looking for in your paper. So the text in blue are the section titles I want you to use in your paper: background information, problem statement, hypothesis, prediction, methods, graph, references. We went over those just a few minutes ago with these paper instructions. It's the exact same as the ones that I put here that we went over. This just told you where to look from back in the semester, and the rubric tells you what I'm looking for when I'm grading your paper. So we'll just go through this briefly. So section titles. So I want all of the sections of your paper to be labeled correctly. And if you don't label them correctly, 5% of the final grade paper could potentially get docked. So it's important. So this column here shows the percentage of the final paper grade that this particular part is worth. So if you don't label correctly, you could get docked some points and score here instead. So background information. So this is what I'm looking for. Problem statement. This is what I'm looking for in that section. Hypothesis right here. Prediction right here. Methods right here. Your generalization, sampling, and replication. This should be included in your methods section, but this is what I'm looking for. Graph. This explains what I'm looking for. References, this explains what I'm looking for. I'm also looking for spelling, grammar, and writing flow. So be sure to be able to pay attention to that. And again, if you need help, please visit the Writing Center. Number of pages. If you don't do the minimum of 3 pages, you will get scored lower. And then student meeting. So if you don't meet with me, you'll also get scored lower. And in general, coming to the meeting prepared and with questions and asking me what you need help with, that's just generally going to make your paper better. So I hope that this paper is an opportunity for you to be able to show what you've learned. Maybe one day you could potentially actually do this study. You're not doing this study for me in this class. Of course, if you did this study, you would need to get IRB approval. But this is just a paper to show what you've learned in research methods, that you can take a study and decide a method for a way to be able to answer a particular research question and test hypotheses. And maybe at some point later, you'll be able to do that. But again, remember to sign up for a Skype meeting with me. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.